Hi everyone, my name is Emily and I'm the young adult librarian at the Rock Island Public Library, and November's Manga Monday title is I Want to Be a Wall. And in this book we meet Yuriko and Gakurouda, and these two are newlyweds. They have just gotten married. We meet them in the early days of their marriage. Now, the thing about this is Gakurouda is gay, and he is in love with his best friend from childhood. But that person, who we meet a little later in the book, well, he's heterosexual. So it's like, okay, I don't want to ever tell him. I know he's not going to feel the same way. So Gakurouda has just decided, okay, this is a one-sided thing, and that's fine. We're still friends. In fact, his love interest, or I should say unrequited love interest, Sosuke, is actually a member of the family that has kept Gakurouda-san's family's gardens for many years, because they have like a big old just traditional like Japanese house, and it's this like sprawling property with lots of grounds. And so this is the person, like, it used to be Sosuke's grandpa, and now Sosuke is the person who, okay, this is sort of a landscaping duty of his. Like, he also helps out with his sister's flower shop, but I mean, obviously for Gakurouda, it's like, oh, okay, this is the part of your job that I'm most interested in, because this is the time I get to see you. And meanwhile, that's the story with the groom. The bride is Yuriko, and she is asexual. And her thing is she really loves stories. Boys Love is what it's called, or BL. And this is, a fictional story in which there is a romance between two men. And she has married Gakurouda-san. Like, the two of them have agreed. Like, Yuriko-san, Gakurouda-san, they know. Like, you can kind of see from their postures here on the cover, even in their wedding outfits, and like from this photo where they're both like just like trying to smile, but they feel really awkward here. They've agreed to get married sort of because of pressure from their families. And I mean, in various countries, matchmaking services are not unheard of. That's a different part of many cultures, but in this case, I mean, these two were kind of paired up. I think in Yuriko-san's case, like, we find this out in the next volume. Basically, though, I mean, Gakurouda just has his paternal grandma left. She's like his only living family. So he lives alone in this big house, and his grandma's whole thing is, I want you to get married before I die. And Yuriko, in her case, her mom has been pressuring her, like, hey, I just want you to be happy. I'm your mom. I want you to get married. And both of these two are like, okay, well, like neither of them are really interested in marriage. Like, in Gakurouda's case, he can't marry the person he loves. And in Yuriko-san's case, like, Yuriko doesn't love people that way. Like, she has friends that she loves her family, but she doesn't experience romantic love. In fact, you even get like a little diagram here where she explains, like, yeah, in stories, it's great. Like, I love stories about romance, but in real life, it's like, no, thank you. I'm not interested in this. So the two of them, again, in volume 2, we sort of learn more about like their first meetings and how basically they were able to open up to each other. I mean, once they admitted, hey, I didn't want to be here. Like, I didn't want to come to this sort of like matchmaking, like it's basically an event where, okay, we both have to wear nice clothes and we're at this restaurant, and like Yuriko's with her mom, Gakurouda is with like a representative of his grandma's, and it's just this thing of like, okay, this is really awkward. Like, eventually they're left alone and they're able to talk and say, hey, this isn't going to work out. Like, Gakurouda is like, I'm sorry, I've had to turn down a lot of people. I'm not going to be able to be someone's husband. That's not something that I think will work for me. And Yuriko's just like, oh, thank goodness, I don't want to be here either. I also don't want to get married. I like my life the way it is. So in this way, the two are able to kind of become friends, and we find, okay, they can be honest with each other, in part because after this first meeting they think, well, I'm never going to see this person again, so who cares? I can kind of tell them more about my life than I would a stranger under ordinary circumstances. But then they run into each other again, and Sosuke's actually there. Like, he sees Gakuro Uda, like, hey, how's it going? And Yuriko's there, and she's like, oh, you know, I'm a coworker, because at first Sosuke's like, oh, are you guys on a date? And she's like, no, I just know him from work, you know, hi, nice to meet you. Well, I mean, in this first volume, like, the two of them, in getting married, like, they've decided, they made this decision, okay, we're doing this to make our families happy. We're never going to be romantically in love, but we can be friends. Like, we're already kind of friends. So we care about each other. We want to help each other. Let's learn more about each other, figure this out. So at first they're just like, the day-to-day struggles are like, what do you like for breakfast? Like, Gakuro Uda has this book about being a good husband. Like, he really is trying. Like, he wants to be kind to Yuriko and, you know, has welcomed her into his home. But at the same time, I mean, these two, they're like, they don't always talk to each other. Like, that's a big thing they learn in this first volume is, hey, we need to communicate instead of just like, I hope I guess right. I hope I guess what this person likes to eat. Because no, they both finally agree, like, hey, you know, I don't need like a Western style big breakfast. I like a Japanese style breakfast. That's fine. And, you know, we can take turns cooking because we're both still kind of learning this, you know, learning each other's likes and dislikes. So it's a very sweet story. It's you know, Gakuro Uda-san recognizing that, okay, I feel this way about my best friend. I feel romantically in love with him, but he doesn't feel the same. And then you have Yuriko. We find she studied abroad in college, and this is how she first learned about asexuality. Because up until that time, I mean, she'd always sort of, like, whenever she tried to tell somebody, like, yeah, I don't think I feel romantic love. I understand, like, oh, you know, I like it in fiction, but for me personally, it's like, no, I don't have those feelings. People will just be like, you're kidding, right? Like, that's not a real thing. And she has to be like, oh, hi, yeah, I'm just kidding. But this study abroad student, I think his name is Gil, and he's like from England, and his whole thing is, yeah, this exists. Like, other people, if they try and tell you who you are or how you should feel, well, they're wrong. You know how you feel. You know who you are. So again, really sweet story. There's just 2 volumes so far. And again, it's these two being friends, knowing that their marriage is going to be unconventional. The title, if you were wondering, because I kind of was at first, but basically the idea is Yuriko wants to be a wall. Her idea is she doesn't want to get in the way of like Gakuro Uda and his feelings for Sosuke, even knowing that those feelings won't be returned. Like, Sosuke always has a girlfriend. He's had, various romances since like junior high. And I mean, Yuriko knows, all right, well, I just want to be there for this person, in like a fictional sense. This is like, you're reading a book, you're not, there's no chance you'll get in the way of like the fictional love interests. Like, there's no way to interrupt them. But in this case, I mean, Yuriko really feels like, okay, it's not that I'm a third wheel, because there's nothing that's going to happen romantically between these two men, but she would really just like to be able to give Gakuro Uda time to like be with his friend, be with the person he loves, even though, for Sosuke, it's like, oh yeah, we grew up together and we're good friends, we still see each other a lot, but yeah, to him, it's like, oh, well, I gotta go, I'm gonna meet my girlfriend for dinner. And at the end of the second volume, actually, I think Sosuke's current girlfriend comes over and actually, like, yells at Yuriko, thinking, my boyfriend's cheating on me with you, and Yuriko has to be like, no, that's really not what's happening. So you get like romantic comedy elements here, and yeah, just 2 volumes so far. It's a lot of fun. The art is really good, and it's just, yeah, this story of 2 people in a very unconventional relationship. So check it out. And thank you for watching. I will see you again soon.